Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're not outside Old Trafford. We're not in my kitchen. We're in the studio. We're live. We're going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news. So make sure you are getting involved in the chat and the comments as well. Most of the news this morning is focusing on the morning after the night before. Obviously, Manchester United playing Spurs last night in the Carabao Cup, losing 4-3 in what can only be described as a pretty insane game, to be honest with you. 7-goal thriller, if you will, but it just felt like it was a sort of a game where both goalkeepers did the best to cause as many goals as they could. So we'll get into that. There's been a bit of a reaction from Ruben Amorim, as you'd expect. So he's obviously got to give his reaction to it, explaining what the priority is for Manchester United, explaining what's going on, and what he thought of the game itself. If you've not done so already, please hit that like button too. Good to see some of the usual suspects in the chat already. Santa Notch, happy Friday, Jay. Happy Friday to you, bro. Nihat Masir says hello from Turkey. Homeland of Bayandir. Didn't have his best game last night, but we'll get into that in a minute. Robert Tater, Jay, WTF, was that last night? We'll get into that. Marco McAnelli, morning Jay. Chris Scott, morning Jay. Right, here's what Ruben Amorim had to say about last night's performance. He said, "We showed that in the past games, also when we were losing, in difficult moments, we disconnected in the beginning of the second half. It was a tough moment for us, like 10 minutes, and then we returned. I think we did a great job. I think if you look at the game, I think we were the best team, but they were more clinical. We lose the game, but the fight from the lads was really important to me." Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with a lot of that. You could see about the first half. You could see it and feel it in the stadium. The team were comfortable and we dominated the possession. I don't think it was the last pass. I think it was the last shot because in my mind, Eriksen, 2 times in the same position, they scored 2 goals. We couldn't score. It can happen. Spoken about taking advantage of Spurs' high line. Then I think, is there a bit about, yeah, there we go. This is where the sort of the title, the thumbnail and the headline has come from. Because at first you might think, what is he on about? Has he completely lost his marbles? He's obviously not talking about this season. He's talking about the goal at Manchester United remains the same. He says here, "We cannot think in that way, that winning silverware makes everything okay." Very similar to, remember what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said? He said it, didn't he, when obviously the sort of stick used to beat Ole was that we didn't win anything and that we were doing okay in the league, did well in the league. We finished 3rd and then 2nd, but we failed in the cup competitions. We got to some semi-finals, we got to a final, but we couldn't get over the line. And he said that's not always the case, that just winning a trophy indicates where you're at. It's a similar thing, I think, that Arteta has mentioned, or some Arsenal fans have mentioned as well. Well, many Arsenal fans, winning silverware is great and it's important and you should win silverware, but it's not everything. And this is what Ruben Amorim's getting at. He says, "We cannot think in that way, that winning silverware makes everything okay. It will be a long way. We are improving as a team, and our goal," I say the same thing after the game and before the game, "our goal is to win the Premier League. How long is it going to take? I don't know, but that is our goal." Now, we heard that Omar Barada a few months ago had set this target, and it's quite arbitrary, innit, to set a target of 2028, I think it was, where he said, "I want, United can win the title or will win the title by 2028. I mean, people look at that and they go, and I'm the same. I look at it and I go, okay, that's relatively realistic, I think, because you don't want to say, well, United will win the title in the next 15 years, or whatever, because people go, is that your target, to win it in 15 years? Also, let's be honest, I don't think Sir Jim Ratcliffe's going to be impressed that you say, "Oh, Jim, if you make it to 90 or whatever, you're going to see us win the title." But 3 or 4 years, you think, okay, there's enough time there. We rebuild properly. Why not? Why can't we win a title within that time? Ruben Amorim says that that's our goal, is to win the title. I get it. I understand it. We'll have to wait and see whether that happens, though. And I think that last night is frustrating and it's annoying that we're out of a cup competition because it's one we could have won. It's not the end of the world. This is a new manager coming in, and I keep saying it. It feels a little bit like pre-season this season under Ruben Amorim. Now, it's not completely like pre-season in the sense that these are competitive games. These are games that you want to win. I know you want to win games in pre-season, but these are games that are a lot more important than pre-season games. And we do want to end the season with either a trophy if we can, or qualifying for the Champions League. That should be, the ultimate goal. But he's still finding his feet. He's still seeing which players he can rely on. He's still working out which players can fit into his system. I like the fact he's not changing his tactics or his formation. He's changing the players within that formation. So he's saying, look, these are my tactics. This is the formation. Who can work in it? Who can I rely on? Who's a player? Which players are able to carry out my instructions? Rather than going, you're struggling with it. Let's go to 4 at the back or whatever. He was asked about Marcus Rashford. He said, tomorrow we have training. He will be there preparing for the next game. He is a United player. There was a little bit more on that as well. I don't want to keep going on and on and on about Marcus Rashford, but it is a hot topic. He was asked about it, whether it was a mistake not to drop him, and he said no. He said it wasn't a mistake. He's, basically said he did the right thing for what is right for the team, and I agree with that. Let us know what you think in the chat. Akash K says, the pre-match presser for Spurs was a joke. 12 questions were asked by journalists. 11 of them were on Rashford. Not enough for Ruben. Shake my head. Or Ruben right now. Shake my head. I get that. It has become the dominant topic, hasn't it? And I get that a lot of fans are frustrated with it. The manager's probably a little bit annoyed with it. We saw this banner, didn't we, last night? I don't know if you saw it. Which basically said, Tara Marcus, I think it said. A reference to Pete Molyneux's banner in 1990 when he said Tara Fergie. It was unveiled, I think, in the away end at Spursy Stadium. I think it said M34 Danebank. I think that's a place in Sale. I get there's a lot of frustration with Marcus Rashford from a lot of fans. I'm not a big fan of unfurling banners, selling players to sod off or whatever it said. I get there's annoyance. The thing that confused me a lot of the time with the whole Rashford narrative is, there we go, there's a picture of it. Excuses, Tara Marcus. A lot of people think Marcus Rashford should go. A lot of people have had enough of him. Before this interview with Henry Winter, a lot of people think, he's not good enough, or he's not consistent enough, or he doesn't want to be here. He's come out and said, right, okay, I'm off. I want to go. And now people are annoyed at that. So I get if you wanted him to stay, you'd be annoyed that he wants to go. But I think if you wanted him to go and he says he wants to go, you'd probably be happy with that, wouldn't you? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Akash K says, I don't understand the fan base sometimes, Jay. Rashford has done more than any United player in the current dressing room. His goal record speaks for itself. He has got a good goal record. I think he's scored more goals than anyone post-Alex Ferguson. I might be wrong, but I think that's right. But people, I can't bother going into it. You know why? I understand why there's criticism of Marcus Rashford. I understand why some of it crosses the line, some of it doesn't. I'm not a big fan of banners. I think if you want Marcus Rashford to go, you should be happy that he says he wants to go. And if he does go, then everyone can move on. Let's talk about something else. What have we got here this is Troy Deeney talking about Anthony's performance. Anthony got a lot of stick in the chat last night, and I know it's on social media as well. I feel like with Anthony, we had a couple of appearances where you could see there was some positive traits from him. I'm not going to say he was amazing, he wasn't, but I think he played his part in goals and stuff, and he linked up well with Amad Diallo against Victoria Pilsen and against Manchester City. Last night was a bit of a chance for him, I felt. I feel like it was an opportunity that he could have done something with. I don't really think he took it. Troy Deeney, if you care what he says, as soon as Manchester United took Anthony off, everybody else started running. He can be quite harsh, Troy Deeney. They've got to cut ties with him. I don't want to make him the scapegoat, but honestly, watching him is so frustrating. He doesn't run, he doesn't sprint. Just get him out. If you're getting rid of Marcus Rashford, whoever's taking him, we'll pay you to take Anthony as well. Get him out of the club. I won't go that far, but I'm not a big fan of Anthony. I don't really think it's worked out at Manchester United. I understand why the manager's still giving him minutes. I don't think it's going to, you're going to see Anthony at Manchester United next season. I'd be surprised, and I hope he proves me wrong. I'd love to see him turn it around and play well for Manchester United consistently. I just don't think he's quite at the level that we need, and I don't think it's not his fault, but we massively overpaid for him. Obviously, the manager that brought him in isn't there anymore. The new manager's still using him, but sparingly, if you will. I'd be surprised, like I say, if he sticks around. We've got a Victor Lindelof update as well. We won't go too much into this, but he went straight down the tunnel. He got injured. Amorim was asked about that. I think he has something we're going to have to assess, but it's tough to lose a player. Yeah, Lindelof, again, another player that probably needed a bit of some minutes just to show what he's about. I don't think he's going to stick around either. I think he'll be moved on in the summer. He's spoken as well about other injuries. Luke Shaw, Mason Mount and Vic, they had injuries. They don't have the space to train. Just preparing games is not perfect, so we'll try to do it again altogether to have the full squad, because with this schedule we need the full squad. We've also got something on Lisandro Martinez, Gary Neville. There's a lot of reaction in it. A lot of reaction this morning. Gary Neville has accused Lisandro Martinez of making a wimpish mistake as the Red Devils lost 4-3 to Tottenham. I think this is from 365, but this is obviously a quote from Gary Neville in his commentary. He said, I have to say that clearance from Lisandro Martinez is quite simply appalling. To play that straight to Kulusevski, he's been let down by two poor mistakes, Ruben Amorim. He really has. You can talk about structure, shape, patterns, tactics, but if your goalkeeper parries one out into the centre of the box and your centre-back flicks one with the outside of his left boot. It's a wimpish clearance. It was poor. If I'm going to be kind to Lisandro Martinez, I think it wasn't just him that made mistakes. I think we could have done better in cutting out the cross, but he's got to do better than that. You can't just stick a foot out and send it to Kulusevski. It was a poor clearance. I think we can all agree on that, and it cost us a goal. I don't think Lisandro Martinez had a particularly good game yesterday. He wasn't alone. There was a couple of others as well. Bayandé was mentioned for the first goal, even for that fourth one. I know me and Steve spoke after the game, and Steve felt it was a foul. I thought it was soft. Probably with VAR, you get it a free kick. I just think VAR is sort of usually quite goalkeeper friendly in those situations, and the lad does seem to put a hand on Bayandé's other arm, but I still think Bayandé, I don't think he's put enough on him to put him off. I know that might sound contradictory, but I think with VAR, just contact a lot of the time with VAR is enough. But I don't think that contact was strong enough for Bayandé to completely miss the flight of the ball, which is what he did. I just think he made a mistake. I think he did. And I think that's why the ball, was gone straight in from a corner. The XG for that was something like 0.00 from Son's corner. Really annoying because at that point, what was it? That was 3-2, wasn't it? You felt like United could get an equaliser. And it was annoying because it's 70 minutes when Diallo gets that second to make it 3-2. I honestly thought we'd win. I thought we would. I thought we'd go on and win the game. I thought Spurs are crumbling here. Forster's having an absolute stinker. I think we've got another couple of goals in us here in the next 20 minutes. So it's really annoying that we end up going out. Not the end of the world. It's it's something you can move on from, and that's what Ruben Amorim was getting at. But it was frustrating. Mr. White says we started with a B team after half. Mr. White also says time the A team took control. Kenny says Martinez's form is a bit concerning in it. Love the kid, but he hasn't been the same. I get that. I think he's been very erratic, Lisandro Martinez, because I sort of singled him out as someone who I think could really work well under Ruben Amorim. And yet, it's not quite gone that way, has it? I mean, if you look at Lisandro Martinez when he came in, probably Erik ten Hag's best signing. Very consistent, fans' favourite. Obviously, he picked up that injury, didn't he? Towards the end of his first season, I think it was, which was annoying. But he's still a very good player. A fool named Huggy says, but Martinez needs a rest. I think you might be right. Maybe that is. Santa Notch says, mainstream media again pointing to Angie's injuries. Always empathy for every club's manager except United when it's an injury crisis. I agree with that as well. Oh, let's have a Jared Branthwaite story. We've not had one of them for years. According to Gimme Sport, Man United are ready to persuade Branthwaite to join the club over rivals Liverpool and City, who are also keen on the services of the England international. The Red Devils tried to sign Branthwaite in the summer transfer window, but both their bids were rejected. The Toffees have set a price tag of 80 million for the star defender. As per the report, it is highly unlikely that any Premier League club will be able to match the fee being demanded by Everton. Hit that like button, please, people. Let's get to 100 likes. I don't know what's going to happen with Branthwaite. Maybe we're going for him in the summer. There's definitely interest in there from Manchester United. I don't think we'll get Everton will get 80 million for him, sorry, and I don't think they should. I think if we can get closer to 50, that'd be a decent deal for him. We'll have to wait and see. We know with PSR and all that stuff, it is tight. A lot may depend on whether we can move on players like Marcus Rashford, who, as you all know, will be pure profit because he's homegrown. Another couple of stories. Sofian Amrabat. Ignore that one. Forget it. Producer Ben just chatting to me like we're not live. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Also, there's just this quick one here. Paul Pogba's brother's got a prison. There's a sentence you don't hear every day. Yeah, this is the MEN. Matthias Pogba has been sentenced to 3 years in prison after the extortion attempt on Paul Pogba. I mean, listen, whatever you think of Paul Pogba, and you might think he didn't quite live up to expectations at Manchester United and all the rest of it, I find this really sad, and I think I do feel for him. I mean, it's got to be pretty horrendous when your brother tries to kidnap you and extort you for, I think it was about 30 million quid they tried to get off him. I mean, the amount is by the buying it. It's just really just disheartening what happened with Paul Pogba and the way his career sort of petered out almost. He probably thought leaving Manchester United, going back to Juve, it'll get going again. He's had a doping suspension, and his brother's tried to kidnap him. I mean, it's been an absolute disaster, hasn't it, for him? And yeah, I kind of feel for him. His brother's been sentenced. to 3 years. You can see there by a Paris criminal court on Thursday in relation to an extortion and kidnapping case, having already served time in detention. The remainder of his sentence will be carried out under house arrest with electronic surveillance. I tell you what, it's a bit different, isn't it, in France? What, like a 3-year prison sentence for kidnapping and extortion, and you get to do it at your house. Okay, well, I don't really, know much about the French legal system, so we'll leave that there. Casper Peterson says, what a waste of talent. A full name Huggy says, your own brother, wild. Lewis S1 says, money makes people do crazy things. It does indeed. We're going to be back later on. We've got Off the Bar later. We've also got The Brew. So make sure if you're not doing already, you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I'm Jay Motty. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.